All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the June 5th edition of Contributor Experience. My name is Elsie Phillips, and I'll be hosting the call today. I would like to kick off this morning by reminding everyone that we do have a code of conduct. The TLDR on it is please be excellent to each other. If you would like more of the fine print, go ahead and look that up. I don't believe I saw any new contributors on the call today, but if there are any, go ahead and shout. Nope. Groovy. All right. Next, we're going to do our regular program updates, starting off with office hours by George.
Nothing much to report. I just got to schedule the things in YouTube, which I usually do at the end of the day, at the end of being our contributors. So those will go out. I wanted to bring something up to the group, but maybe we could talk about it. We can punt if we need to. Still debating on whether we should do West Coast time zone meetings because the East Coast European friendly ones easily have like twice the amount of participation. So I don't know. It's something for the group to consider. At this point, I think I'm just saying, hey, do we want to do West Coast and then see what people say? So just something of a heads up there.
I feel like we can even get the traffic information from YouTube on where those people are coming from time zone wise too. Because I mean, at least on Meet Our Contributors, I think West Coast people, like we say we don't like morning, but for this kind of stuff, we might actually like the morning because it's just kind of kicking back and it's not like thinking, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't know. So, I mean, I think for me, like there are still a lot of West Coast people that are like chiming in.
And
so I'm wondering if people just like the morning time.
Yeah, and our West Coast time zones are like 1 p.m. to like after people are coming back from like they're going back to work. They're not gonna go like hang out on YouTube. I would love to have a more like, hey, it's a Thursday night or whatever. You're just getting off work. Why don't you come hang out in office hours? But for me, because I'm on the East Coast, we would need like a West Coast streamer by far. So.
I'm happy to stream. I just feel very like not great answering user questions about why my cluster is not being.
Oh, so the panel contributors always show up. It's all like,
oh yeah.
Josh is reliable unless he's traveling. Like I can
I'm
get
happy
you
to help. I'm a night owl. You know, I like don't.
Yeah,
so.
I can get you all the experts. It's actually running the thing. You know, and I'm seeing and answering the question.
Yeah, and if we can do the OBS image thing too, where like we just like pop an environment up and I can like stream from that environment, I think that's awesome. But like I do have OBS on here. I just need to like let's do some tests.
Yeah, so we tried putting it in Git, and like I don't know if Jeff is on here, but like when I did a commit and mixed stuff, we could talk about this offline. But like I had some technical issues sharing it. So what I'm currently doing is like taking a screenshot of the settings.
Yeah.
You know, that's going to be the best. That's going to be the best thing to do because the settings are different per computer. We can try and export them, but it's only exporting them for that computer.
Yeah.
If I do something with my laptop and send it to George, it's going to break. Like he's just going to have to reconfigure everything anyways.
And context quickly for people on the line right now that have no idea what we're talking about. We are doing like a YouTube streaming team because we have a lot of streaming programs at this point. So we have the community meeting, Meet Our Contributors, office hours. These are the program updates that we're doing right now. So sorry, I just wanted to give that context. I know people are joining that I don't necessarily know. So I just want to make sure we give that context. But if there's something that interests you, like you've done YouTube streaming before, like obviously we're looking for more help too. So just a plug there too. Sorry.
Cool. I realized that I was remiss in my duties and I forgot to ask for a note taker. Could somebody volunteer to do that?
I will hop in right now.
Cool. But I also made you co-host, Paris.
Sweet.
Just in case. We need to troll smash. Cool. That takes us to Meet Our Contributors, which is actually your section.
We had our June edition this morning. It was really fun. I feel like they're getting funner, which is awesome. That's the point. And yeah, if anybody on the line wants to come on for July, we're only doing one right now. It's the same problem that Office Hours is having. It's not necessarily a problem. It's just we feel like a better time slot for the, another edition would be post 4 p.m. Pacific time. And that's still in the cards. I just need to do some administrivia there to get that going. But if anybody on the line right now would like to come on, even if you're a new contributor, you add that perspective to people who are asking new contributor related questions. So love to have you. That's it. That's all I got.
Great. George, do you want to talk about the community call? Are we all good?
Yeah, we're all good. Chris had to back out, but Paris stepped up with a bunch of people. So thank you for doing that. Well, I've got some stuff going on.
Valerie stepped up.
Valerie, whoever. Thank you all, whoever did that, because I'm crushed this week.
Great.
Hosts are fine. Next week, we're going to have to choose more hosts. Sorry.
George.
Yeah.
Do you know if I'm going to have to stream or not? You don't have to actually tell me. I'm just curious.
No clue.
Okay. Thank you.
Paris, need to know email for technical leads and chairs.
Yes, if there's anybody on the call right now that thinks that our chairs and our technical leads of our SIGs and working groups need to know information this week that's super critical. I think there was like release information that went out. I remember Claire, for instance, said something to the SIG leads. If there's anything that needs to be reiterated or disseminated to all of our SIGs, let me know now. Put it in the doc. Forever hold your peace. The end.
Is there a link in the docs? Oh, there it is. Thank you. Never mind. I've got something for you.
Yeah, you might need to add a date. I don't think I've added the date yet.
Okay, and then contributor summits. Jonas, Josh, and Paul.
I think Jonas is still out. I don't want to give a summary yet. I think he should do that. But Barcelona Summit was awesome. And then we'll get an update from Jonas when he's back. I think that's next week, actually. And then San Diego Summit, we've started organizing. Awesome. If everybody in here is interested in shadowing, I think we have a ton of shadow roles available. What is shadowing on a Kubernetes contributor summit team? We'll find out together. This is the first time we've done something like this from a release team perspective, where they have shadow roles. It's very similar. The hope is that you will either lead the contributor summit the next time or lead a section of the contributor summit the next time. And it's sort of mentoring by doing. But I do have a issue as soon as I'm done talking that I'll link in the document, so that if you would like to volunteer for the San Diego Kubernetes Contributor Summit, please see us. We have not met or kicked off anything just yet. We will shortly, so now's the time to jump on board for that. And then I think Josh also had a burn down conflict. Is Josh on the line yet? Yep, there he is. No, he is. Shanghai update.
Yeah, so we're going ahead. We're full steam ahead for the Shanghai Contributor Summit. As a reminder, we will have a current contributor track as well as the new contributor workshop. Please make sure that everybody you talk to knows about that. We should be publishing a blog post this week to help let people know. We have a bunch of people actually have stepped up to take on particular segments for the current contributor day. The one area where we haven't been able to find anybody and are probably not going to be able to have any content is there's not going to be anyone from Test Infra in Shanghai, apparently, even at the conference at all. So we're not going to be able to cover test infra for contributors, which is sad. But if you know of other people who would be good leads for a session, or, you know, we've solicited a lot of SIGs that have a bunch of Chinese contributors, or Asian contributors in general. We do plan to host some SIG face-to-faces there. So far we have SIG Azure scheduled, and hopefully I would like to get one or two more. Beyond that, we're set up for that. The CNCF is going to provide a shuttle bus from the Intercontinental for people to attend the Contributor Summit, which will be at the Convention Center. And also, 100 power boxes, because apparently the Convention Center is inadequate power. So the CNCF is having to bring in portable battery packs for everyone, which is going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. The things you find out when you show up in a convention center for the first time.
Oh, I know. I'm laughing because I know that life. So it's just like, woo, yeah.
Yang is coordinating with Gwyn on changes to the new contributor workshop, so that we can incorporate what was changed and what was learned from Barcelona. I also need to hook up with the Harbor folks, and find out how we can make use of that, for image caching, etc.
Suggestion for testing.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, it's like, I feel like it might be the most trite option, but what if we played the video from the new contributor workshop with the testing section or something like that?
Yeah, this was more for current contributor. Like, one of the things that was, we gave the opportunity for people to register to request topics for current contributor, and there were multiple requests for a deep dive on test infrastructure, etc., and writing tests. And that's just not something we can do via recording.
Okay. I mean, and I know, like, not Josh, Aaron did the machines can do the work talk. That was like that 45-minute deep dive into all the CI and stuff like that. I don't know. Like, I'm saying, like, that it's that's right. Like, not like in person, and like that's, I feel like, just like last resort stuff.
No, and that's not sort of current contributor content. We could possibly use some of that for new contributor workshop, for the sort of basic take on how testing works. For that matter, a lot of people can do the basic sort of walkthrough of, you submit your PR and here's what happens. This was more to do an in-depth of, hey, I'm adding a new feature to Kubernetes and I need to figure out how to add it to the E2E tests. What do I do? And that's not something that we can do without somebody who's, elbows deep in our test infra, to lead it.
It looks like there was a question from Sadev. Sadev, do you want to ask? Or do you want me to just read your question?
No, definitely I'll ask. Thanks. Now, I was just wondering, Josh, that do we have an issue for SIG face-to-face at Shanghai? I know we'll have a couple reps from IBM Cloud SIG and, one actually from China, so they can sort of participate there. There's one.
No one have an issue. I can go ahead and create an issue if that'll help.
Just to sign up and, have them sort of look at it. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Great. Okay. So now we can take a look at the project board. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. Uh,
I think,
let's
like,
do. Sorry, what?
oh, I was just saying that I think all in progress issues just have PRs open and they are in review.
Cool.
It's kind of like the big update.
Perfect. Let's talk about our one issue that's in the blocked column and then move on. Rename release notes and cherry-pick labels to conform to category, subcategory norm. Can anybody talk about that one?
I had a PR open for it, but I haven't updated it because it was in the middle of the release cycle. I'm not even sure if we want to do this, but I can like revisit it and make sure that it doesn't remain in the blocked column at least.
Cool. That'd be great. All right. Let's hop back over then and go to the open mic section. Issue label bot, demo discussion. Himmel? I know I saw him on the call earlier, but maybe he dropped off.
Can hear you.
No, he's asking if we can hear him.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Can't see his video either. Hold on, which is weird. It's like only mysteriously in the chat. No.
Okay, maybe we'll go to the next topic and then we'll circle back around.
Yeah.
Custom Slack loading message, George.
Yeah, so can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sweet. So Catherine was working on a PR to have a welcome message when a new user joins Slack. You know, hey, check it out. And I was like, you know what? Those Slack loading messages are cute. We should totally like use those instead of like whatever stuff they put on there. So I dug in there. It ends up we can do 150 custom loading messages. You can't put links in there, unfortunately. That's kind of really a bummer. And depending on, you know, network conditions, it might be slow. So I started to put things in there like check out Meet Our Contributors or, you know, join Cube Careers if you're looking for a job, that sort of thing. So I mostly just wanted to let people know that, A, that exists. And I put about 10 in there. So we have like 140 useful things that I think we can put in there. We have a method in the community repo for you to file requests for Slack stuff. So I was thinking just like saying, hey, if there's a cool message, just let one of the Slack admins know, or better yet, do it in GitHub so we can track it for useful things. You know, our programs, don't forget to register for Cube, like that sort of thing. I figure, you know, they're benign. People have to read something anyway. Might as well make them useful. So I just want to let people know that exists.
Cool. I think it's great. It's a great opportunity to capitalize on a couple of seconds of people's attention.
Yeah. So if you just hit F5 when I think it's F5 or reload, whatever it is in Slack, it'll show you a message.
Cool. Great.
So please add some as well so it doesn't look like I'm the one adding all of them. So that would also be great.
There's a suggestion in chat that we just have pictures of your beagles.
That would be great. You can inline a picture or links. I thought it'd be awesome that it's like, you know, click through to find a like we can't, unfortunately. It's all plain text.
Inspirational Tim Hawkins quotes.
Yeah, so there is one that I'm gonna ask him permission. The problem is it attributes a quote to me. We'd have to make him an admin, put his one quote. I think we're thinking about the same quote, and then de-admin him. Maybe we can figure out a way to do that or something. But yeah. Don't end up in my situation, Tim Hawkins. Like it could be so good. But yeah, that's all I have.
Cool, great. Himmel, are you ready?
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay, I'm so sorry about that. I'm also sorry that my video camera doesn't work for some reason.
Linux too?
No, I'm on Mac. I just maybe it's my monitor plugin toolchain thing, whatever. I don't know. Hi, I'm Hamel. I work at GitHub on the machine learning team. The way I kind of got connected with some of you folks initially was we've been collaborating with some open source maintainers to build tools that might help automate some of the workflow and kind of ease the pain. And we've been trying to do it so that, we can validate our ideas and sort of in real time sort of iterate and have things that can eventually make it into the product, but also make a difference for maintainers. And so kind of an idea was mentioned. So we have this, we've been starting a couple of different projects. One of them is we try to start simple. So the first one is trying to automatically label issues for maintainers that might help, so that might help with triage. And I know there's probably thousands of things that you would rather have improved with GitHub that are probably burning topics that could be improved. What I'm specifically focused on are things that that can be automated with machine learning, and we try to work with open source maintainers. And so the thing I want to show you today is this issue label bot. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yeah, please feel free.
Okay, so this is how you install it. It's a GitHub app. So what that means is on the marketplace, there's a link in the notes to this page, so don't worry. I've already installed it on my own repos, obviously. So it doesn't say install, but this green button will say install for you if you're trying to do this on your own. But the way it works is pretty simple. My mouse is frozen. That's not good. Give me a second. Okay. So here's like an example on the Kubeflow repo of how this works. They have it installed, and it's labeling. It has like 3 different types of labels. So it labels bugs, it labels things that are questions and feature requests. And you can alias the labels so that they conform to your repository. So this is an example. So someone opened this issue, and then what happens is this issue label bot comes in, and if it's confident enough, if it knows what it feels like, we can classify this issue, then it'll go ahead and label it, and then also it'll link out to this more information, and then we collect feedback, and that allows us to retrain this and make it easier. And so that's how it works. You can install it and uninstall it anytime without too much pain with going to this marketplace page that I showed. And again, you can alias. So this is how you alias. If you want to alias the label, so the way they do it here is they have just a YAML file, and then they kind of alias as such. So the idea is like we would like to work with another large community and sort of iterate on this more and make it even more robust. We've gotten really good feedback so far, and sort of the proposal is, if you might be willing to try this out on your repositories or a repository, and kind of give it a go, and we can try to work with you to add things or collect feedback. Any questions? Sort of rush through that. I see Jorge is.
Yeah, this looks awesome, by the way. Do you have a sense of failure rates when people report when the machine learning is wrong? Like, do you track that?
Yeah, we track that. So we see this is like a dashboard that is surfaced to the public, and we have one for everything. So we collect it, and not everybody gives a good job of giving us feedback on every single thing. But we see like failure rate of about like false positive rate of about 5% right now. We're being very conservative. So if we're not confident, then the bot will not label an issue. So for example, like this is what happens. So it was not confident, so it just didn't label anything there. So we can adjust that if necessary, but that's how it works.
Another question. So beyond those three things, so bug, feature, request, and question, is that the only three labels that it works into its model? Is there any like expandability or customizability in that? Or is it just those three things?
So we started with those three things because those are the things that the maintainers are working with. Were kind of on their list of burning things they wanted to triage. However, if there's other things, then we'd be happy to retrain a model on those for Kubernetes if there's something that is helpful there.
Yeah, so my big thought here is, so the kind of competing product, as I see it, to what you've got here is issue templates. And we use those fairly extensively for this exact thing, where we need to be able to classify into those categories. And for example, in our main Kubernetes repo, we have 4 templates: bug, enhancement request, support request, and failing test. And 3 of those fall into those 3 categories that you mentioned. Where do you see as the advantage? Like, is there an advantage to using this over issue templates and self-classification?
I don't see that. So if you're using issue templates and they're fairly structured process, frankly, I don't see that much of an advantage of using the label bot. It depends on your triage process right now. If you already have a way that you're able to filter and sort of select issues easily, and you don't really need the labels because, let's say, they're getting shepherded already with your current process, then yeah, maybe the advantage is not doesn't seem that high. I'm not trying to sell you something that you don't need, so I'm just being honest.
So
yeah.
This leads to a follow-up question I think I have about this. So one thing I always mess up is I file an issue, I follow the template, but I forget to label all the right things, and then the bot yells at me, "Don't forget." But I'm thinking in my non-engineering head, if 95% of the things I file are under SIG contrib X, could something like this kind of figure out based on machine learning what labels to at least recommend me maybe or?
Yeah.
It could to explain kind of a bit about our process, Hamel. So beyond those core classifications. So when somebody opens up an issue against the Kubernetes repo, we file it under those kind of major headings. So bug report, feature request, support question, or for us, another key one is reporting a failing test in our CI. So beyond those categories, the next kind of classification step for us is splitting it up based on special interest group, and being able to take a look at which team within our very large structure would actually be handling the triage. So while from an outside perspective, if I'm an outside person just stumbling across KK and I want to create an issue, I can usually have a very good sense of am I trying to report a bug? Am I asking for a new feature? That's something that, at least from an outside perspective, a lot of people will understand. Oh, I kind of know which basic category I'm filing it into, but without kind of understanding how Kubernetes is split up, it's hard to know exactly, which special interest group is going to be handling this, and which team within Kubernetes is going to be doing this. Or we also have labels based on different areas of the project, again, to split up and triage, okay, these type of requests are all grouped together. Where I could potentially see machine learning being very helpful is things like if there was something that was able to kind of suck up, hey, so based on previous triaging decisions, if it mentions this file or these keywords, this would be a good candidate for lumping into contributor experience or SIG node or SIG network or things like that. That kind of triaging is something that is way more difficult to self-classify.
I see. Okay, that's really good feedback. Maybe that's something I can explore and sort of demo if I can make it work good enough.
Yeah, I think that as far as our particular model, and like, you know, this is just my opinion. So if anybody has differing opinions, please do feel free to speak up. At least from what I see of our triage model, things like that would be extremely helpful to us, as opposed to this very basic model. I know you're very early kind of in this process and you're trying to make something that's generic across lots of different projects. But I know for us, the issue templates work fairly well for that basic like 3-bucket classification, bug, feature, request, support question. We actually, in our repo, we do not want support questions. So our issue template for support questions is like, please don't log them in GitHub. Go over here for support. So like disabling our templates and moving over to another system would actually probably be a regression for us.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, that's very helpful, actually. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I always feel like the bot is always like what the content of my issue. I feel like sometimes feels common sense-ish. You know, like the contributor guide should be translated in 15 languages, and then I'll go do something else, and then I'll get an email that's like, you forgot to put area/contributor guide as your label. You know, and that feels like something that could,
yeah, totally,
possibly, you know, catch things like that. You know.
It'd definitely be tuning the model to essentially the Kubernetes project itself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
for that matter, it would be lovely if we could actually do some automated SIG classification, because I would say that's one of the most newbie hostile things.
Yeah.
When they actually file an issue and they get an immediate notification from the bot, you must attribute this issue to a SIG, or, you know, and that often requires a lot of knowledge on the part of the new person that they don't necessarily have.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's really interesting, yeah.
And as far as a use case for machine learning in particular, I think that'd be a fairly good one. Like for us, if we were doing like string-based matching and other types of automation that we already have and do lots of, that gets a lot trickier to say, like, you know, somebody even just like in passing mentions contributor experience, but that's not the right category for it, as opposed to like, you know, here's how I'm structuring my request, and this, if it fits this kind of like shape, it actually is contributor experience versus something else.
The other thing is, if you're using our current issues and previous stuff as a training set, you can already use the ones that the labels are already applied to sort of make that matching there.
Yeah, it seems like a reasonable problem to explore and kind of reasonable thing to try to solve with machine learning. I see Jorge's hand raised.
Yeah. Also, would the fact that we have owners files for each of the sections in the SIG owned areas with all the people who are responsible for those areas possibly help?
That's interesting. What would you imagine that?
The tricky thing there is, George, is filing issues. So for us, when somebody opens a PR, and we know exactly which files they're touching, we can do things like assigning reviewers, like suggesting approvers. We can also, like our current automation, can assign labels. So like if you touch X directory, automatically add these 3 labels to it. So we could do a lot of that kind of stuff with owners files in our current automation if they're opening a PR. The problem is issues don't touch files. So that gets really tricky as far as doing those kind of like triaging label suggestion things, because there isn't a direct tie between an issue and a source code file.
Gotcha. Okay. I was just wondering.
Jeffrey, did you have a question?
I had a kind of a question and a comment. The question is, and this is more just clarification, we definitely need to have this bot apply more than one label, and I wasn't sure if through the demo if that is currently like happening or possible, but it definitely should. And then the comment is actually a counterpoint to that, which is I know a lot of people in the community have a problem with the current length of GitHub comments and getting flooded with bot comments. And though this seems awesome and could be useful, I would just like to bring up the fact that this is yet another bot commenting in a GitHub thread, and people might look at that poorly.
I think that was more with the other, well, with our bot commenting over and over and over again. This would just be like one thing.
It accumulates, though, and that's the one thing I want to bring up.
No, that's definitely something that that we're actually trying to mitigate in another work stream. We're trying to work on notifications separately, more deeply integrated in GitHub versus just this like bot approach. But yeah, that's really good. I feel the pain of that too.
I dropped a link to our previous discussion with some of the stuff on the like more moderation queue and some of the other stuff that's like GitHub specific features. People want to take a look at that.
Yeah, we have just to kind of catch everybody up. Like we got when I first had the discussion with the Kubernetes community, everyone sort of said we don't need this. We really want help with notifications, and so we opened up a separate thread with a product manager at GitHub who's been connected with some of you folks and sort of trying to work on that.
Yeah, notifications is like our Waterloo.
Yeah, truly, I think. And now like probably the bot comments is like getting up there with like annoyance, I think, on folks' radars. So
but I think at a minimum, so I love this. I can already think of a lot of stuff. Is there a size limitation? Like, because I think we can at least at a minimum show this to Kubernetes ecosystem projects that might not,
Sure. What do you mean by a size limitation?
Like, are you looking only for huge projects or like?
No, we have it installed on all kinds of projects.
Okay.
We have like kind of this very basic website, and this is kind of all of the users on this page right here. Not a huge amount of users so far, but there's a bunch. And so yeah, a lot of them are just small folks.
Yeah, because we have lots of not directly associated with Kubernetes, but all the ecosystem folks that use Kubernetes and consume Kubernetes and stuff. And I think that just letting them know that this exists, we could at least get the conversation going for stuff like this.
That makes sense. And this doesn't have to be only about labeling issues. I'll circulate on the email list, maybe a Google Doc where everyone can jot. I'm sure everybody has like these burning ideas about how you can make GitHub better beyond issues. And so I would like to collect that. If anybody has ideas.
That would be great, Hamel. Thank you so much for coming on and demoing that.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
This is really dope. I dig this.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, and then let's go to Paris for the meeting proposal.
yes, Hamel, FYI, that's awesome. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate like the GitHub feedback loops that we've been seeing with all of your teams. It's been super awesome. So I just wanted to say that. Meeting proposal. So we've been doing this song and dance weekly now for over a year, and we clearly have a lot of things to talk about. There are tons of work streams going on in this group, and I wanted to propose that we move to more of a cluster lifecycle methodology, if you will, meaning having sub-projects meet on their own cadence, and then we come together for this meeting bi-weekly, and then go and do a sub-project stand-up and do much more of a board shuffle, very similar to stand-ups that you may or may not have, you know, at your work or whatever. But then the sub-projects would ultimately meet. They could either do once a month Slack stand-ups, they could do once a week, you know, they could do bi-weekly. It just depends on what they want to do as far as their work streams are concerned. I'm obviously going to send out something on the mailing list, but I wanted to run it by here first as to what people thought about that. I think George is giving me the +1 if I can see correctly. Yes. Did anybody just like, I know I just rushed through that proposal. The mail is much longer. Any questions, concerns, comments? Christoph said +100. This, and by the way, like I said, proposal, I mean, like, this isn't going to go into action next week. Like, we're going to talk about this. Also, there's going to be a list that are sent out with, like, what is a sub-project owner to us, because that's something that the project also, we need to work on too, is like, what is a sub-project owner? For this, we're identifying sub-project approvers at the root of the sub-project. Those people aren't necessarily people who are like, quote, leading this. They're just people who are going to figure out like what meetings and stuff y'all want to do. And then ideally, we have sub-project boards that are listed in the Kubernetes repo. And then we can all list those on like a future contributor site. And then people can see what the heck we do, when we do it, why we do it. And like what our priorities are and stuff like that. So I got +100 and thumbs up. Anybody that's like any dissenters or people who like what we do now?
The only dissent I have isn't really dissent. It's there are a lot of meetings, and I am very concerned about scheduling. That's the only thing that concerns me. I am all for structure, and hell yeah, let's do it. I personally have concerns that there's going to be a point where it's like, well, I can't make any meetings because I have other meetings.
Yep.
I feel like a lot of people have that too.
And I think that this is what I'm hoping, by the way. And I've done some experiments in other smaller work streams. I'm hoping that this means that you don't feel like you have to come to the bi-weekly, because the bi-weekly is just a stand up, and it's like the sub-project folks who are like heavy in the streams and merging stuff will be on the bi-weeklies. And then that means that you as Jeff, like if you're doing this like YouTube streaming thing, then like you are in that stream and people have like a voice for you at the bi-weekly meetings. So it's in hopes it's actually less meetings that you feel like you have to attend, and then more like clued into the day-to-day of what you're doing. That's the hope. Yeah,
from the SCL ones I'm sitting in too, because they're focused, they really break their stuff down. It's like,
exactly.
Like their meetings end up being shorter because it's like, here's our 10-minute stand-up, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And then one of them, and they can rotate that out, is the one that goes to the main meeting later. And here's like, you know, hey, federal government, here's all the stuff the state government did, kind of thing, you know, as opposed to feeling like you have to sit through a mega board.
Yep, exactly. And we have mega boards, y'all.
I am plus.
We have mega boards. So we have mega boards, and it would just help us, I think, communicate better with our audience if like we were just a little bit more finessed. That's all.
The other advantage I could see is you can have, like, as a sub-project, you can choose how you want to meet. Hey, we're going to do a check-in in Slack once a week. We can do, like, you can, as a sub-project, there's some flexibility in how you choose to meet and sync up. But then we still have the regular cadence of contributor experience, make sure that like all the sub-projects are on the same page. But individual work groups may not need to meet as frequently, may choose alternative ways to meet, may meet in a more ad hoc fashion. But as long as like inside the sub-project you're communicating and the sub-project is communicating up to the SIG, then yeah, it may result in fewer meetings. Hopefully it does not result in more. And if it does, that's definitely something that we should talk about and revisit here.
Yeah, that is not the intention whatsoever. Like, the intention is for us to work faster and be able to communicate better. That's the intention here. So, all right. Well, I didn't hear any major objections. I'm going to go ahead with the email on the mailing list, and we'll do our usual song and dance there, and then take action. Like I said, this is like July and stuff like that.
What is it? It's 72 hours, right?
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, but we're thinking like implement this in July or whatever. So, like, we still have plenty of time.
Yeah, let's. If you could time gate ourselves, be like by the meeting on July 7th or whatever it works out with.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
I have one more thing that's not on the agenda. Is there anything else on the agenda?
I have one thing as well that's not on the agenda, but
okay,
I'm
you
going
go
to add
first
it right
then.
now. You go.
Tisk, not adding it to the agenda? How could you?
I'm pleading in a sense. I'm actually following up on behalf of something from Aaron. Aaron has sent an email yesterday nominating Bob into the GitHub administration team as part of the GitHub administration subproject. If you support that idea, please express support on the mailing list. That would be fantastic. That's all I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah, Bob, that's like the highest level of trust. It's like, let us bestow the knife on the like hill of stone thing. I don't know. Anyway.
Is there a record for
knife?
plus ones of someone?
Is there a record for plus ones?
Yeah, because he's got like 10. Maybe if we got 10 more, there's got to be some kind of record.
The Kubernetes world record for number of plus ones on a nomination.
I thought that was like steering committee election.
So are we going to get a speech, Bob? I think maybe we should wait till we have the speech before we really decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bob has no voice.
Preferably out right now.
Yeah. I don't even have to guess. It's probably Dims, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So my last thing is that we are busy making roles, which is awesome. Like, I don't know if you've seen rollbooks come through the community repo, but we're chiseling more out this week. I plan to PR more roles in for a blogger.md, for some marketing type of roles. And I wanted to say that because that goes with communication stuff. So when I talk about marketing team, I'm not necessarily talking about like a CNCF marketing team. I'm talking about people that are going to market the work that we do within this SIG, because communication is the most important thing that we can provide to this organization. So if stuff like this interests you, please reach out and speak up, because this is definitely the forefront. I mean, you can see some of the rule books say like to do in sections. That means that we have to do it. But the other group too that we're trying to spring up ASAP is the triage team. That'll give Nikita and other folks who triage heavily in the repo some relief, and then also some insight to get some like mentoring opportunities going there. So that's all I have to say. Roles are getting created. Please tack on. Also, if you think like we should have a team for something, like let's talk about it. That's what these meetings are for. So that's my spiel, and I'm sticking to it.
Groovy. Okay.
I have just a quick appeal to the group. I put a graph in for tomorrow's community meeting. As one of the few people who regularly checks dev stats, one of the things I noticed is that since February, we've been closing, according to dev stats, we've been closing PRs faster. And by faster, I mean substantially faster, as in the average, existence or median existence time of a PR between, say, November 2018 and March 2019 went down by half. I can't, through the data, pinpoint anything in particular that would lead to that. It seems to be sort of generally distributed. But if anybody knows it's particularly associated, the change is particularly associated with February. So if anybody knows something that happened in February that would have caused people to start closing PRs faster, or for that matter, opening more short-lived PRs, it would be, please let me know about that before I present it on a recorded YouTube call.
Is that anything with tooling? Like, do we have any changes to Prow or Parabolus or anything like that during February?
Josh, I can run a bunch of manual sequels tomorrow regarding PRs on the entire Kubernetes org, and I'll try to confirm or reject that information because you asked me for this today, but I had a lot of other stuff to do. So I will really try to get to this to confirm that this really happened. So maybe I will generate something like average PR close time per week, for example, and we'll see if we go down from, let's say, 1 month to 2 weeks, somewhere around February. I'll just try to pick up this data for you.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm seeing seems to indicate that we started getting more PR. We've gradually ramped up the number of PRs that we have. We started getting more PRs, but like the additional PRs that we get are shorter lived. As in, we still have long-lived PRs, but we have a lot more short-lived PRs. That's what the distribution looks like.
I just wonder, because I don't remember, I need to take a look into the metric details, but I wonder if we are calculating average PR close time, but because these PRs are newer, so the lower number is merged. And that who are merged faster because they were opened more recently. So maybe that's because of this. Maybe it's not taking all PRs, but only those that were closed. So.
Yep. Anyway, we should discuss this on Slack, but it's still a good thing even if new PRs are getting closed faster, right? Anything that involves PRs getting closed faster is a good thing.
Yeah, when you get a confirmation, actually, because I know a lot of insiders go to the meeting. I think, once you confirm the data, send that to the mailing list like written, because I think it feels milestone-y. You know what I mean? It's like when I heard it, I couldn't believe it, and I just think it's after KubeCon now. Give someone kind of a cool, hey, y'all are doing really great. Check this out, because sometimes a project is so big and we feel like every PR takes 2 years to get in. It's just nice to, show people some data and be like, look, what you're doing is making a difference, Yeah, or a blog post or a tweet or something. Yeah, something linkable.
I will try to confirm data sent to Josh, and Josh will decide what to do with that.
Yeah, sweet.
Okay. Well, if that is our last item of business, then I will give you back 4 minutes in your day. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Adios.
Bye.